Hey everyone, it's Julian, and Shadowverse Evolved came out about a week ago, and in this video I wanted to give my 1 week impressions to kind of follow up on some of the initial videos I did, talking about different things like the economy, and I do now want to talk about the meta and certain cards and things like that, and how the game just feels. So if you guys enjoy these type of videos, please make sure to like and subscribe. That would be really awesome. And let's get right into it. So, personally, I've really been enjoying Shadowverse Worlds Beyond. We've been streaming a lot here on YouTube. And it's a lot of fun. I'm A0. I've hit Diamond a couple times, which is the group thing. But you just get bumped up and down that so much. And that is one thing that I'm just like not that big of a fan of. I don't think it's a necessary thing, the group mechanic, but because it doesn't feel like it really works too well. There's not really a science behind you going up or down. But anyway, that's that's not a big deal. But let's kind of talk about the biggest thing with the game, which is like the economy. So I've spent about $300 total on this game, and I just now completed, literally on this free daily pack, the set, and the last card I needed was the Ancient Cannon. But we have every card now, and we actually have a pretty good amount of vials and stuff to be able to create cards that we want. So I haven't liquefied a bunch of stuff, but if we did liquefy extra cards that I have, I'd get 14,000 total, which is about what, 4 legendaries. There are some legendary like copies that I'm missing. So Albert, I still only have 2 copies of, and it's funny because Sword is probably my most played deck right now. Kagemitsu I still only have 2 copies of. So yeah, there's a couple of these that I still only have 1 copy of Rose Queen, 2 copies of Ramia, 1 copy of Garyu, so 1 copy of Medusa. So a lot of these you're not like, even after $300 you don't have every copy of a card, but theoretically I'd be able to make most of the legendary copies that I'm missing. But I think that after a week the economy feels okay if you spent money like me, right? Because since I spent money, I had the freedom to make a bunch of different decks and test a bunch of things out and have a lot of fun playing the different decks and things that I like and enjoy. And I haven't really felt the burden of like, man, I really need a couple more vials to make this one last card for this deck. Because a lot of the decks I'm playing are missing like 1 or 2 legendaries. You can go and look at some of my videos the past week. A lot of the deck profiles and stuff I've been doing, I've been like, hey, I only have 2 copies of this or 1 copy of this, whatever, and you can, fill it out however you like. But I do think that you're only granted that, like, feeling if you spent money. So that's my issue. I really think that they want the collection aspect of this game to be a big deal. That's why, like, when you finish the collection, you get a title and everything. Well, I forgot what the title was, but, I finished the collection, I got 142, we're good. And for that, I think that's fine, but then I think they should at least make it so that you can vial cards that you have more than 1 copy of. Like, if they just want you to go, hey, we want you to have 1 card of every card in the game, I'm good with that. Like, I'm fine with that. But if they want you to have 3 copies of that, that's just way too much, in my opinion. I just think there are some cards in this game that you don't even need 3 copies of. Like Cocytus, most decks do not need 3 copies of. And I have 4, And it's like, even if I wanted 2, I couldn't dust the other 2, right? Or vial the other 2, liquefy. And that is frustrating. I think that they should at least give us the chance to vial stuff down to 1 copy. That's my opinion, and I think that would fix a lot of issues right now, because for a lot of new players that come in the game, Let's just like sort by legendaries, right? A lot of new players that come into the game, they'll get, I don't know how many packs, like maybe, let's just say they get 50 packs, right? So that's 5 guaranteed legendaries. And they could get lucky, and they could go, wow, I pulled 3 Orcus and 2 Ralmia. I guess I know what I'm playing, right? You know? Or they could go, wow, I got a Rodeo, a Burnite, a Ralmia, a Kagemitsu, and an Amataz. Now where? Now where do you go? You know? Because like I've said in some of these videos and on stream, you cannot really build a functional deck with no legendaries right now. There's not a functional deck that is good enough to not feel like frustrated without legendaries. And that's just the truth. Like there's obviously I want them to make legendaries good. That's the point of legendaries. But I wish they would have balanced it so that the core cards for decks are golds and silvers. And there's a couple decks out there like Artifact. The best, you know, one of the best cards in Artifact is Alouette, which is a gold 5-drop, right? But a lot of the power of that deck is this card and Orcus, you know, Portal in general right now, right? So, it's just frustrating that it's like new players. It's hard for me to get new players in. Like I was talking to my friend the other day, and he's really into card games and stuff, and I was like, I'm playing the game a lot, but I wouldn't even recommend it to you because you can't even make any deck if you get unlucky, you know? And that kind of promotes like re-rolling and stuff, and it's like, re-rolling is, especially on a card game like this, it's like, come on, you know? What was the other thing I was going to mention? I think the other thing they could have done is make it so that the pre-builts that you get after you complete all the beginner quests are full decks. Like full three of a legendary and 9 golds, you know? Then I think that would help a little bit. Also because they give you like those quests that like have you try out the decks and stuff, you know? So, but yeah. The economy, I think, is getting better. The chest event is starting soon. I think, like, in an hour or less than. And then this weekend, we're going to have our first weekend... What is it called? Weekend League? Weekend Lobby Tournament. So that'll be June 28th and 29th. And this is going to give us a good amount of... Let me see if I can find the rewards. Because you win if you win the tournament, I think it's 4 or 5 rounds, you get 3,500 vials and, what, like 2 packs or something? And that's enough to build a legendary, which is really nice. Of course, the issue comes in the fact that you have to win all of them, which is hard. Like, if you're in a position where those vials really matter, you probably don't have fully built decks, right? Like, that's one of the issues. The other thing is, and this will kind of transition us into the meta talk, is if you like begin the game and you get lucky enough to get a bunch of vials and stuff and you build a deck or you choose a pre-built, you might like choose wrong because there's a couple classes right now that are really weak, and I think that is Abyss is the weakest class right now, pretty much by far. Does it have some stuff? Yes, but it's very held up by Cerberus just being an insane card, and Medusa is a pretty good card too, but, like, Cerberus for sure. Like, if you don't even have Cerberus, there's no reason to build. There's no reason to build Abyss, like, even try to build Abyss. It's just a really weak class right now. So it's like, if you go in and you build Abyss, especially if you build Abyss and you don't have the full deck, like, all 9 legendaries, like, 3 Gravies, 3 Medusas, and 3 Cerberuses, it's going to be pretty rough, and your account's going to be rough, you know, win games and stuff like that. Then the other class, and this is more of a hot take, I think, but I think Haven is really weak right now. I was really high on Haven the first, like, 24, 48 hours. Haven suffers from the issue in this game where the evolve points are very, very powerful. Evolving is really strong in this game. Super evolving is really strong, of course. And the issue with Haven is it has no cards, or it only has a couple cards like, where is it? The Unholy Vessel, that can remove something and deal with the board without evolving. The issue, though, is Unholy Vessel is also the only answer to a lot of boards in the late game. So when you see a, like, 7/7, like they go, play Sylvia Evo, kill your board, they have a 7/7 left, right? You have to either respond with an Evo point, or use one of your cards you have to have for the late game to deal with that board. Because you can't take 7 there, right? And that is an issue with this class right now, is almost every good class right now has ways outside of spending Evo points, multiple ways outside of spending Evo points, I should say. That's an important piece of this, is it's multiple ways of dealing with boards and dealing with cards without spending Evo points so that they can save the Evo points for later. And that is the issue I found with Haven right now, is almost every card that removes something off the board is an Evo card or one of your, like, one-of board clears, Because even in the late game, John sometimes does not get it done, There's some decks where it does, but sometimes 6 damage is not enough. And you have to spend the Evo, like against Orcus, right? If they go Orcus, you have to spend an Evo. Or if you popped an amulet or something, right? But you have to have pre-setup for that for one card, It always takes 2 cards or an Evo point and 1 card to deal with their 1 card, And that kind of brings us into the best card in the game right now. I do think it's better than Olivia now. For a while, I did think Olivia was the best card in the game, but Orcus was second best. I think Orcus is just the best card in the game right now. This card needs to be nerfed, like, period. It's a very broken card in a lot of ways. Design-wise, it's not a very fun design because you're not, like, rewarded for playing it in its archetype. So you can just play this card in any Portal deck, and in the future, any Portal deck, and it will always be 7 damage Storm, 8 damage if you swing in with the Super Evo, Orcus. And it just makes it absurd board. Also, everything gains Bane, of course, too. So that means that you can clear boards as well instead of getting the Storm damage. So if we ever get to a spot where we can play a really, really hard control Portal deck, this card's still going to fit in. And a lot of games against Portal come down to, do they see Orcus or multiple Orcuses or not? And there's a lot of hands as Portal where it's like, wow, I have 2 Orcuses, I just win the game now. Because I have basically 16 confirmed damage, I just need to find 4 more and hope they don't heal or whatever, right? I think this card needs to be nerfed. My take on it is I want them to make it more favored for a full puppet deck. So my idea was keep the same stat line and everything, but the evolve effect, remove the evolve effect, and we're going to change the evolve effect. And so on play, I want her to summon the Lloyd and put an enhanced puppet in your hand. And then whenever an allied follower, same effect, whenever an allied puppet comes to the field, gains Stormbane. And then on evolve, on super evolve, change the cost of puppets in your hand to 0. So that means that if you are playing puppets, you're rewarded for, like, stockpiling the enhanced puppets. And then if you play it outside of puppets, you're only getting 4 damage Storm. But it's still 4 damage Storm plus the 1 damage from the Super Evolve. But it's still, like, a lot of, it's still a really good card and high value because you're able to still clear stuff, right? Because they all have Bane, and Orcus is an 8/8 that doesn't take damage. So that would be my idea for nerfing this card, and that is the kind of nerf I'd want to see. I don't want them to kill this card, because then I think puppets kind of gets killed. Another aspect of this is, and this is a video that I'm going to be doing in the future, probably tomorrow, but we're most likely going to be getting more puppet cards like Zwei next set. That's sort of my prediction. And if puppets get supported even more, this card could be even more insane. So I do think this card needs to be tuned a little bit. I don't think my idea of a nerf is too bad. or too insane, like, kills the card, but, yeah, they need to do something about this card. And I would say Portal is the best deck right now. It's the best class, and I think both builds are, like, not bad, like, full Puppets and full Artifact, and of course there is a build where you kind of combine the two, which is kind of interesting. But the other card we got to talk about is Alouette. This card frustrates me. This card is the epitome of, like, a bad Shadowverse design card. Artifact is really strong right now if you draw this card. If you don't draw this card, the deck literally drops a tier, like, in power level. Like, the difference between it's turn 5, they have a big sword board, you know, and it'd be perfect for the AoE artifact, right? Perfect for the AoE artifact. If you have to play the AoE artifact raw out of hand to deal with the board, and again, this is like specific situations and, like, you know, are there other ways to clear a board like that? Maybe, hopefully you have a good enough hand that you don't have to do this. But this is just, for example's sake, right? The difference between playing out the artifact and losing 4 total gears on that turn, on turn 5, and only having a 5/3 versus gaining 2 more gears and losing 0 gears and having a 4/6 on the board. So it's a 4/6 and a 5/3. And the 4/6 can attack and deal with the other stuff on the board that might be high enough or higher than the AoE 3 damage does, is very frustrating. Because when you draw this card, it's like, wow, this deck is nuts, this game is insane, whatever. But if you don't draw it, you're just in such a bad situation. And I really don't like that feeling. And I feel like Artifact is very held up by this card. And Orcus, but Orcus is like a portal, like you put that in every portal deck, right? So, are there ways to get out of certain board states and stuff as Artifact without doing that example? Yes. Are there ways to win games without this card? Yes, of course. This is just an example. This is not me saying, you guys know what I'm trying to say, right? This card is very broken, and if you don't draw it, the game is completely different to the games where you do draw it. So that is the reason I don't like it. I don't really know what they could do with this guy. I think that if you nerf him too hard, I think Artifacts dies. But I do think they need to change something. I think my idea is that either he doesn't give gears, or I like the idea of him not giving gears because it makes you have to build fully into Artifacts instead of being able to do the hybrid. Or you do the thing where the artifact that comes out from the evolve effect is a temporary one, like the Doomrite, and I guess the Doomrite is the only one that makes it temporary, right? So that it dies when you pass the turn back, or when you get the turn back. So those are my ideas of how to nerf this guy, but I do think he needs, a nerf. And also, I don't want to, we're just talking about the high level, decks right now. I don't want to say, I guess I should have said this on the onset, but, I think this meta is really good. I think this is a really good Shadowverse meta. I think there's a lot of decks that can be played outside of Abyss. And I think Haven, but a lot of people disagree with me. I think every other deck is pretty playable and pretty good. And then it's just Portal as a class and Spell Boost Rune are a step above, if that makes sense. So I don't want this to come off as me complaining a ton, because I'm really enjoying the game right now. So I know we're 19 minutes in and I just said that, but I'm really enjoying the game. I don't want this to come off as me complaining too much, but I do want to talk about the things that a lot of people are talking about, like Artifact being very powerful, Rune being very powerful, and stuff like that. So let's get to Rune. I mean, if you guys have played enough by now, you guys will have seen the Anangrea on 5. Clear your board. You can't clear this Anangrea because this card is just nuts. And the next turn, Anangrea, double Flame Destroyer, some other thing, pass. Go ahead, try me, right? Or you've had the games where it's wow, I feel like I'm in a really good position. Cocytus, D-shift, then you're dead. It's okay, well, all right, that's sounds about right. Spellboost is really strong. I think it's on the back of this card and in Greya. This card just does way too much. This card just does way, way, way too much. The fact that it's a big body after Evo that's able to hide behind and like pre-Evo an even bigger ward. That you're also like wasting resources on destroying because it destroys when you pass back is really nuts. On top of the fact that it evolves and deals 3 damage for some reason. I really do not understand why that is. This card is really absurdly strong and very frustrating, especially against board-based decks, and lets you be kind of greedy with Spell Boost because it's like, if you draw this card, you just clear the board almost no matter what. And depending on your hand, if you see the second one, you just win on the spot. And I don't know, I'm not a big fan of that that type of gameplay, especially to play as and play against. And yeah, this is the other like Alouette-esque card where the games you draw this, it's a little less than that because Spell Boost is just a good like archetype in general. It has a lot of other good cards, but it does feel a lot of times like the games where you don't draw this card are very vastly different than the games you do draw this card, which is what I want to stray away from. If I was like the balance guy, the head of balance, is I don't want decks to feel like that where it's, wow, I'm playing a 1-card deck, you know. But this card's very good. This card's very strong. I don't know how you nerf it at all. I also think that we're going to be probably getting more mysterious stuff next set, because I think set 1 and set 2 were designed together. So I don't really want to like hurt that future stuff, right, too much. Kind of like with Orcus, but I do think they need to address this card. Those would be the 3 cards I would say need to be tuned a little bit. Is Alouette, Orcus, and Greya. But yeah, other than that, though, so Spell Boost and Portal, I think, are really, really strong. I would say Artifact Portal is the best deck. And Puppet Portal and Spell Boost are right there with it in the same tier. But other than that, there's a lot of other fun decks right now going around. So Forest is pretty good right now. It's mostly only able to play Roach. That is kind of its only way. I wanted to make Control Force work. I think maybe there's something there, but it's kind of hard to figure out. But the Roach, of course, is kind of an OTK deck, kind of combo deck, and it's pretty good. It beats a couple of the better decks right now, and definitely if it draws well, it can really, really do well against a lot of decks, and this is definitely one of the better decks right now. It's also very cheap, because a lot of decks are playing the Olivia, or a lot of builds are playing the Olivia, but you really only need Arya, and most decks are only playing like 1 to 2. I don't think I've seen 3 recently, but and everything else is golds or below. So if the obviously the caveat there is like it's a hard deck, so it's like you know, the people that probably are looking for free to play cheap decks are you know, obviously there's, you know, people that are experienced in this game that want free to play and cheap decks, but there are a lot of the majority of those people are probably newer players, and this would be a hard deck to get into. But it is a fun deck, and if you have the stuff to make it, I would try it out for sure. Other than that, Dragon, I think, is pretty okay right now. It has 2 builds. Both are like on the cusp of like really, really, you know, viable. Aggro Dragon, which I made a video about yesterday. Really good fast deck if you want to get the chest event done quickly. But it's a lot of playing out, you know, like the Fan of Ohime and the Fortes and a lot of the Storm threats to be able to kill your opponent really fast. It can sometimes lean more mid-rangey because you just have a lot of really high-value cards in Dragon. Like the Draconic Berserker is just an insane Evo card. And obviously you have like ramp cards and like Liu Fang and stuff. And you could even start to go into some of the just like good cards like the Garyu and stuff like that. Instead of going like really, really late game with like the Genesis and stuff like that, right? So I like that. And then of course we just have the normal ramp Dragon, I think Red Dragon has fallen off a little bit the last few days, mostly because it's very draw dependent. But yeah, it's still a pretty good deck. But Dragon just has a lot of good cards. Like Garyu's a good card. Burn Knight's a good card. Liu Fang is a good card. This one. And yeah, so it's like I feel like something's gonna happen with Dragon, especially once it gets the new cards in set 2. Also, side note, if you guys didn't know, set 2 is coming out in like 3 weeks. That's why I keep mentioning set 2. So, you know, there might be some people that are like, why are we talking about set 2? It's going to be 2 months away. No, but it's 3 weeks away. We're actually going to start getting, like, reveals for it pretty soon. So, yeah, but... And then the last class that I've been playing a lot, I think it's my most played class. I can double check after we talk about it, but is Sword. Sword is a lot of fun. It feels like the most consistent deck, and it's a deck that I feel the best with right now. It is only pretty much loses to Rune, and even then, it's like they have to have like the Anne and Greya into like, you know, Flame Destroyer, stuff like that. And if they see a couple heal spells, it's like gets really rough. But every other matchup feels really good for Sword. Sword just has a lot of really high value cards right now. The Amalia, of course, the Amelia to draw you cards and set up boards in some matchups that are very hard to deal with the barrier. And then you have just some of these insano cards, like we kind of talked about with Haven not having. Sword has a lot of these cards that you can deal with the board and remove board and build your own board without evil points. Like Geno, you don't need any evil points and you can wipe out most boards in the game and set up a humongous threat that typically requires an evil point out of your opponent. So really, really like Geno. And you just have other good cards. Obviously, like Albert is the finisher. Luminous Mage is really strong mid-game that is hard to deal with a lot of decks, especially if you're in a position to pre-evolve the Luminous Mage. Like if they're on an empty board or whatever, it's really hard to deal with this thing. And as the Luminous Mage stays on the field, it's going to get more value as you play more of your tokens and stuff, and they're going to get ward and stuff. And yeah, I've found Sword to be a lot of fun. It's definitely a mid-range deck. Honestly, like, almost leaning Control, like, a little bit, because it has a lot of removal. Like, Valus is a really crazy removal card. Hound of War, I'm going to try out today. I've seen a lot of lists playing it. I wasn't really sold on it, but I'm going to try it just because I've seen it, and it looks kind of interesting. But you just have a lot of really strong cards that, like, could see play. Like, even, like, the Nightly Rending, I like the idea of, like, the 4-drop... It's basically the Dragon Slayer, the fledgling Dragon Slayer from Dragon, where it's just, like, a 4-drop 2/2 that destroys something. So, like, if you want to lean even more Control, even more, like, get to the late game and just start dropping these bombs of, like, Amalia, Geno, Albert, even, like, a Centaur Centurion, stuff like that. So, I'm enjoying the deck a lot because it feels very flexible and not too draw dependent. But it is kind of expensive. It's pretty bad. I don't even have the deck fully built out, right? Because I'm still missing another Albert. But yeah, that is the meta. And yeah, so overall, and you know, this video is kind of pretty long, 30 minutes almost. So kind of to wrap up, I am really enjoying this game. I hope you guys are enjoying it. If you're not enjoying it, I understand. And it's unfortunate that it's like, you know, for a lot of free-to-play players, you're kind of only locked into one. Yeah, so I have more Portal wins than Sword right now. That's interesting. By 2. You're kind of locked into the one deck that you decided to build at the beginning, which is unfortunate. And I hope that's the other thing, is they have not really addressed this, like, economy issue at all. I really hope that's coming in the stream that's going to happen soon. I believe there's going to be a stream in a few days. And yeah, other than that, my impressions of the first week is the game itself, you know, playing the cards is really good. The stuff outside of it is really rough. And because that stuff outside is really rough, it's hard for like all of the players to be able to fully enjoy the gameplay that they've created, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd really love to know what you guys are thinking about this game so far after a week. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I hope you guys are enjoying it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you want even more Shadowverse Worlds Beyond content, make sure to like and subscribe. We're going to be doing, we've already done a ton of videos, done a deck profiles. They're kind of fun. Yeah, make sure to check those out and try some of those decks out. And check me when I stream, maybe. I'm going to be streaming here shortly if you're watching this video right now. But, yeah. All right. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.